Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be part 1 of 3, and we're going to be assessing the 15 characteristics of white supremacy culture. So today we're going to be working through the Dismantling Racism workbook by Okun and the late Kenneth Jones, who are both visionaries and leaders. And this workbook is designed to help individuals and organizations pretty much unpack and work through racism within themselves or within their organization, whatever the case may be. So it wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't have my handy dandy iPad here with me to help guide me. So we're just going to read through the list to start, and then we'll go a lot more in depth. That's why I need 3 parts. So let's just go through the characteristics. So first we have perfectionism, sense of urgency, defensiveness, quantity over quality, worship of the written word, only one right way, paternalism, either or thinking, power hoarding, fear of open conflict, individualism, I'm the only one, progress is bigger, more, objectivity, and right to comfort. So for each of these characteristics that I'm going to cover, I'm going to give a definition, I'm going to give a couple of examples, and then I'm also going to provide some solutions. And on top of that, I'm also going to be incorporating different articles, other sources that I think are helpful that I came across in my research. So let's start with perfectionism and let's get right into the definition. And this definition is coming from Psychology Today, and you will see that a lot of the definitions, some of the first ones you'll come across are from therapy resources, because a lot of this white supremacy culture is very harmful on the psyche, but we're all just forced to work and live through it. So, the Psychology Today definition is perfectionism is a trait that makes life an endless report card on accomplishments or looks. When healthy, it can be self motivating and drive you to overcome adversity and achieve success. When unhealthy, it can be a fast and enduring track to unhappiness. What makes extreme perfectionism so toxic is that while those in its script desire success, they are most focused on avoiding failure, resulting in negative orientation. They don't believe in unconditional love, expecting others' affection and approval to be dependent on a flawless performance. So one thing that came to my mind is perfect attendance in school. That's kind of something that we're conditioned to believe is, something you need rewarded for. Make it to school every day. Show up every day, no matter what's going on in your world or what you're going through. Show up every day and you'll be rewarded. Just in general, this idea of always being perfect, like no matter what state of being you're at here, you need to perform as though all is well and you have to have a perfect outcome. This also means that you can't fail or misstep in love and relationships. It means that you can't fail when it comes to career, which means you must sacrifice whatever it takes to be successful in your career, whether that be your mental health, whether that be relationships you have with family or loved ones. You have to be successful. And this also puts you in a mindset to where you can't ask for help, because if all is well and you're doing so great, you don't need to be asking nobody for help. And if you do ask for help, then that's a sign that you ain't successful. So I should reiterate that too. This is my personal approach to working through these things. So yours could be drastically different, but I'm just saying what I'm doing now that I have the knowledge of just how conditioned I am to live and work this way. Like I said, these are the things that I'm doing to get up out of that. So for one, if I don't feel like showing up and performing, I'm not. I'm not going to be there all the time. Like, if I'm not up for it, I'm not forcing myself. I'm sorry. The show will go on without me. Also, too, I'm understanding that all I can do is my best, and my best will vary. So you're going to have to take what you can get. I'm also applying this to my relationships. Allowing space for people to grow and better understand me. As long as they are engaging with me in good faith and they're genuine and they're trying and they really want to understand me and build a healthy relationship with me, I'm going to have grace for them. I'm not going to say, oh, well, you messed up one time. You weren't perfect. Done. It doesn't work like that. It shouldn't work like that. But under white supremacy culture, that's how we move. Also, I'm understanding that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to need other humans. There's nothing wrong with that. And this is why community is so important, but white supremacy does not value true community. I've also applied this thinking to my art, and since I've done so, I've actually enjoyed my art so much more since I'm not focused on it being perfect. I'm more so invested on translating the vision that I have in my mind. So this makes engaging with my art that much more enjoyable. And I'm actually a lot more satisfied with the outcome. So let's move on to sense of urgency. This one was so big for me because I didn't realize just how much I was operating from this mindset almost every hour, minute, second of my day. Now, let me define this for you. Urgency is the quality of being very important and needing attention immediately. And if you have anxiety, I feel like a lot of our anxiety is this underlying sense of urgency. And I will unpack that. If you'll notice, with a lot of these jobs, they hate downtime. They want you to feel like you're on the edge of your seat at any given moment. You need to jump into action. And this is even when there's not much going on at certain jobs. Like they want you to always be standing, or they want you to just always be looking ready for something. And it's just like, why is that? Why can't there be some leisure as long as I'm meeting the objective of my job? Also, think about bills. Like bills themselves, it's like this must be paid by this, or else another human is going to come and shut off whatever service this is. And that could even be, basic human needs like heat and water. Like another human, if you don't do this by this, another human's going to come and cut that. Girl, that's a little bit extreme, if you ask me. Also, under white supremacy, urgency is weaponized. Like some issues will have all the urgency in the world applied to them, while other important issues will just get totally ignored. Examples would be the Flint water crisis, no urgency, environmental racism, it is what it is. But when there's time to do some military action, there's time to bomb somebody, there's no delay. It's on it, like it's just go. But when there are, other issues that affect people that aren't, then it's no urgency at all. So some of my solutions for combating this is I take my damn time now. Like I don't rush. If there's any circumstance in my life that makes me feel rushed or tries to push that urgency on me, I move away from it, or I push back on it and ask why, what's the rush? Like even if I have a job and there's a supervisor that rushes me, like I said, there'll be a pushback, and if that urgency is still applied, I'm out. Because what is this? Rest feels way too radical when it shouldn't, especially considering that pre colonization, our ancestors was just not working like that. Like, let's be so serious. I'm actually going to read an excerpt from an article, and it's titled "For 95% of Human History, People Worked 15 Hours a Week. Could we do it again?" An anthropologist explains the root of our workaholicism and offers a vision of a more leisurely future. And the author here is Jessica Stillman. So let's get into it. So here's an excerpt. Thanks to high school history class, most of us think of the past in terms of hundreds or at most a few thousand years. But modern humans have been around for at least 300,000 years. And the anthropological evidence shows that for the vast majority of that time, our ancestors were living pretty leisurely lives. Our hunter gatherer ancestors almost certainly did not endure nasty, brutish, and short lives. He writes of a seminal studies of the Jutwanzi, a hunter gatherer group living in southern Africa. The Jutwanzi were revealed to be well fed, content, and longer lived than people in many agricultural societies, and by rarely having to work more than 15 hours per week, had plenty of time and energy to devote to leisure. Hello? So, my other advice for this section is to just remember that nothing is real. We're on a floating rock in the middle of space, and most of the urgency that we feel is man made. Well, white man made. Next, y'all gonna laugh because I know y'all done experienced. Next is defensiveness. I'm gonna just do the definition and then I'll move on. The definition: defensiveness is a negative defense mechanism in which we deny or deflect a complaint to protect ourselves from our perceptions of being insufficient or wrong. We might feel defensive when we perceive that we are being criticized or blamed, and we might act defensively to avoid the painful emotions stirred up. Baby, y'all already know the millisecond that you bring up racism to a person, they be flying off the handle. I don't care if it's in person, I don't care if it's on social media. That's why I don't even engage and give them my energy, because it's not in good faith when they're responding or when they're, going, it's not in good faith. So why even, waste your energy? They don't want to be educated. They've had all this time to be educated. They still choose to be the way they are. You'll notice that they're not open to any new ideas or new ways of looking at anything, honestly. Um, and then also just think, like the definition is saying, if you open yourself up to criticism and you're in their position and you have to sit with the amount of harm that you've either been a part of or been complicit to, you would, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, that really says a lot about a person. But just think, if they allow themselves to take in this criticism, which all of them should do, it would be great character development. But they would have to really sit with the amount of harm that they've done, either directly or complicitly, and really have to unpack what that says about them. Because we know at the core of anyone who is racist is just pure evil. There's pure evil for you to act out in that way, for you to dehumanize and harm others in that way. You are demonic. I'm sorry. But, imagine having to sit with that. Imagine having to sit with that. I'm not saying, that the magnitude of it is reason enough for them to be able to weasel out and, act out the way they do when you bring it up. But the projection shows, like when the projection shows when you bring it up, the way they respond is actually really reflective. That's all I'll say. So solution wise, in order to not be that way, for me personally, I try to remain open to new ideas, new information, and even criticism, because I'm not perfect. I never claim to be, I don't want to be. And it's okay to get new information and change your mind. I promise you're not going to explode. This is okay. You will be okay. It's okay to think one way about something and to get new information and feel totally different. It's okay. This is a major part of growing as an individual and also collectively growing in our relationships as well. This is how you learn to better understand and truly connect with others. You have to be open. Next, quantity over quality. Now, this was one I had to kind of unpack a little bit because I was like, okay, in what ways do I personally do this, or in what ways is this? But as I researched more into it, it all made sense. So, the definition is the idea that it's better to have many things of low quality than a few things of high quality. So, some examples would be a million superficial friends and connections over a small group of loved ones who truly know, love, and understand you. More food, like junk food, fast food, over lovingly prepared food with better quality ingredients, and also an overconsumption of things we don't really need, just to say we have a lot of something instead of a few maybe handmade things by a local artist that might have more meaning. So, I don't know if it's the way I grew up or just, how I've evolved over time. I've always moved more towards like a minimalist mindset, anyways. But I do know, and I am noticing some people that I kind of naturally moved away from. It was because they were displaying like, consumerism being their entire personality. And that is just such a turn off to me, like as I'm getting more older, because I'm just like, is that your personality? Like that's what you're going with? Okay. When we choose a more minimalist mindset, it makes us appreciate the things we do have in our life, and it also prevents waste and just overly doing it to the point you don't even need what you got. Of course, more meaningful connections when you're not just, you know, making superficial friendships, even superficial like followings and stuff on social media just to say you got them, but there's not really people that you can call up and truly connect with. It's just more fulfilling to know, okay, I got my true blues. I got this set of people here that I know for a fact really have my best interest at heart. It's not just, this collection of people that might only deal with me for superficial reasons. Also, this allows you to support local artists like me, and it's more meaningful, the quality over the quantity here, because you're getting things from someone that put a lot of love and energy into what they created. And also, you are supporting the artist, whether that be financially or if you do some kind of bartering. I'm moving more towards where I like bartering more. And you also encourage the artist, like, oh, they want something from me. So, hey, y'all, this one right here was another one I had to research down because I was like, worship of the written word. I was like, so the Bible, because, I was like, is that what you mean here? Totally different. I think that's a different discussion, but we're going to get into this. So, this whole section, I'm going to be referencing an article by Mark Morgan on Medium, and it's literally titled Worship the Written Word. He seems like he has gone through and done an article on each of these characteristics separately, so you might want to check him out as well. Alrighty, so worship of the written word shows up as if it's not a memo, it doesn't exist. If it's not grammatically correct, it has no value. If it's not properly cited according to academic rules that many people don't know or have access to, it's not legitimate. An inability or refusal to acknowledge information that is shared through stories, embodied knowing, intuition, and the wide range of ways that we individually and collectively learn and know. Continued frustration that people and communities don't respond to written communication, blaming people and communities for their failure to respond. Those with strong documentation and writing skills are more highly valued, even in organizations where ability to relate to others is key to the mission. Those who write things down get recognized for ideas that are collectively and generationally informed in a context where systemic racism privileges the writing and wisdom of people in the white group. Academic standards require original work when our knowledge and knowing almost always built on the knowledge and knowing of others, of each other. Claiming ownership over written knowledge to meet ego needs rather than understanding the importance of offering what you write and know to grow and expand the community's knowing. So, what I took from it is that if it's not written down, it doesn't exist or it doesn't matter. Also, even if it was written down, if it's not grammatically correct and perfect, it has no value. Now, this totally diminishes the fact that in many cultures, information is shared orally through storytelling. And also, I know with me, that's why I express certain ideas on here verbally, is because there's certain ideas that I just communicate better. I just have a better time with presenting certain ideas this way over writing them out. And it just depends upon what I'm talking about. Some things I would rather approach through writing. It just depends and shouldn't be penalized for that. It's also very clear why they didn't want enslaved people learning to read and write, because once they were able to write down the cruelty that they were experiencing, it's like it became real under this rule. And even then, they would criticize what was being written and what was being shared. So it's like a lose lose. And it honestly makes me think about the Claudine Gay situation that's going on right now at Harvard. Just something to build upon, something to think about. Go and read her situation. It's a lot. So let's talk about some of Mark's solutions, or as he calls them here, antidotes. So he says that some antidotes would be to take the time to analyze how people inside and outside the organization get and share information, figure out what actually needs to be written down, and come up with alternative ways to document what is happening. Encourage creative ways of documenting or reporting or reflecting what you are learning and what you feel you know. Work to recognize the contributions and skills that every person brings to the organization. Make sure anything written can be clearly understood. Develop your skills individually and collectively to gather information through different ways of knowing. Identify when circumstances require documentation on others' terms and bring transparency to how you respond. Dedicate time to practicing and honoring other ways of knowing and expression. This can be oral storytelling, like I mentioned, embodied learning, visual and movement art, silence, meditation, singing, dancing. Practice listening because our culture doesn't value oral traditions or storytelling wisdom. We are out of listening practice or remembering how to hold spoken word with weight without having to write it down. Acknowledge and honor diverse and interconnected sources of wisdom. Honor the value of collaborative and collective knowledge. Appreciate when others learn from and expand on your knowledge in writing. See yourself and position yourself as one person in a stream of knowing and learning. So, no ownership of the knowledge you're coming into. Any knowledge that you come into or share is for the benefit of the collective, or it should be. But yeah, um, that's where we're going to stop with this section. Like I said, I'm going to do 5 characteristics at a time. This is part 1. So next time we will cover only one right way, paternalism, either or thinking, power hoarding, and fear of open conflict. So I will see you guys next time. Bye.